What a day it is, everyone. I get to have a go on the awesome Kawasaki Ninja H2 SX SE. This is the 2024 model, and recently I did a video claiming that the ZH2 is perhaps the best H2. Well, today I get to either prove or disprove that analysis. But first impressions of this bike, wow. I mean, the looks, the sharp edges, you can tell that it has been designed with the Ninja H2 in mind. I think it's absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful, and it is absolutely jam-packed with touring goodies. I think there's no argument to be made here. This is a super tourer in every way. And as always, huge thank you to Completely Motorbikes in Gloucester for letting me have a go on this awesome motorcycle for you guys. They've got dealerships all up and down the country. I'm sure they do a fantastic deal if you're looking to buy any new or used motorcycle. But yeah, let's take a look around here. There's lots on this bike. Honestly, it's even got radar as well for adaptive cruise control. It's got the center stand, it's got the single swing arm as well. I mean, even when you just get in, sit on bike, get in the cockpit, tech is just in your face. Heated grips, electronically adjustable suspension, you've got this power outlet, and not to mention this giant screen and keyless ignition. I mean, what more do you want? This thing is every touring bike person's dream. Let's have a look at the way she sounds, shall we? Now, don't worry, I have warmed the bike up as well. But here we go, let's see how she sounds. So initial impression sounds very, very similar to how my ZH2 sounded. I mean, before I put on the aftermarket slip-on exhaust, as you'd expect. But here we go, let's have a listen. I think that sounds pretty good, to be honest with you. Very subdued at the lower RPMs, but definitely picks up a little bit as you get higher in the RPMs. Now, we are going to be making quite a lot of comparisons between this and the ZH2, but we're also going to be making comparisons a little bit later on in a future video between this and the ZZR 1400, which apparently this bike is meant to succeed, so to speak. This is meant to be the successor motorcycle to that legendary platform. And of course, the ZZR, I mean, you can still buy it in the United States, you can still buy it in other countries. You can't buy it in Europe anymore. This is the only option really you have. But this bike definitely has it beat in terms of just techie goodness. This thing has got everything. The quick shifter as well. God, I didn't mention that either. The cruise control, of course. I'm sure this has got launch control as well, probably. But of course, the first thing you notice is that giant screen. That is lovely. I mean, there's a lot of empty space though. So I'm not sure if they could have used that for, I don't know, for something. But it is nice to have a big and clear screen to read. Another thing I have noticed, hang on, let me just get that out of my system. This bike's got torque, man. It's fun, a lot of fun. The thing I have noticed, similar kind of symptoms to what my ZH2 had. The clutch fluid is getting dark. Now, since I changed it on my ZH2, this issue hasn't come back. I don't think it impacts the performance of the clutch whatsoever, but it is something to keep in mind that looks like this is still potentially an issue, and I don't think Kawasaki fixed this under warranty, but then again, it's a very easy thing to replace yourself. Very straightforward. We have a video about that. I mean, I'll link it in the video description if I remember, but very simple job to do, and it gives you a little peace of mind there, doesn't it? I mean, there is just, it's very difficult to describe. I was having a chat with one of the staff members at Completely Motorbikes, and I mean, he claims he only rides 1000s. I mean, that's all well and good, but he did mention that it's very difficult to describe how a supercharged motorcycle feels to ride, because you get that immediate torque. I mean, it's not like turbo lag, because of course the supercharger is hooked up to the crankshaft, so the faster the crankshaft turns over, the more boost pressure you're going to get in the cylinders. And so you do get immediate torque, and this bike does have that engine braking kind of what's the word? It kind of limits engine braking and makes it feel much lighter, so it's not quite as aggressive, which I don't have on the ZH2. And I think it makes a little bit of a difference, you know, just to, I suppose, the comfort as you're gliding along the road, as you're touring, as you probably would be doing with this motorcycle on a regular basis, or at least I should hope you would be, that it doesn't feel quite so juddery when you come off the throttle, right? So if I go on the throttle and then come off again, it's very light. It doesn't jerk you forward all that much. And of course, the first experience I had on that kind of feature was on the ZX10R, and that was a very interesting experience. Let's take a right here. We will be doing a bit of a 0 to 60 run on this bike a little bit later on, but I mean, it's going to be quick, isn't it? Right, now we're a little bit late into this segment, but let's talk some specs, shall we? Woohoo! Oh, this is a fun bike, man. If you don't want to do touring with this, you just want to use it as a kind of like a weekend toy, this is still pretty damn good. But specs, so this is the 2024 Kawasaki H2 SX SE. It's running a 998cc inline-4 supercharged engine, which is producing just under 200 horsepower at the crank and about 137 Newton meters of torque, all whilst weighing in at a quite impressive, I mean not in a good way, 270 kilograms wet. That is heavier than the ZZR 1400. That is a lot of weight. But to be honest with you, it doesn't feel ridiculously heavy to ride. If I'm being totally honest with you, it doesn't feel like it has any more or less weight than the ZZR 1400. And it does feel like the dimensions are very similar as well between the two bikes. But that's going to be for another video. I don't want to make too many comparisons yet, because we're meant to be comparing this to the ZH2. Now, of course, the ZH2 is significantly lighter than this motorcycle, weighing in, I think, about 230 kilograms wet. That is significant. And I mean, that exhaust is pretty heavy as well. It's the same exhaust that you get as stock on the ZH2. And if you take that off, put on an aftermarket one, well, you're going to be saving yourself a little bit of weight there. And if you put in a lithium battery as well, that's going to be saving you a significant amount of weight also. But then again, I mean, the battery on the ZH2 is quite a small one. It's not one of those big ones. I don't know what one this has, but I mean, like, this is good. And ergonomically speaking, this is a little bit sporty, but I don't think it's quite as sporty as the ZZR 1400. Very similar ergonomics, I think, to the ZH2, and if anything, the ZH2 is actually sitting a little bit more upright. So, I mean, in terms of doing those longer journeys, ergonomics is obviously going to be quite a big factor, I think, when it comes to doing those longer journeys. But honestly, like, even though this feels a little bit more aggressive ergonomically than my ZH2, the seat is on another level of comfort. The seat is so nice. It's so soft and squishy. It is totally designed for you to do long journeys. Seriously, it is an insanely comfortable seat. And the back seat is exactly the same. And it's a fairly decently sized seat as well for any passengers. Now, one thing I do want to mention here is, because you've got this little unit here for the heated grips, you do have to reach a little bit further for the indicators and for this kind of unit cluster here. So it's just something to keep in mind, something that you have to get used to, but my thumb does have to travel further than it would do on my ZH2. Now, in terms of power, I mean, because the ZH2 is lighter, it's producing pretty much exactly the same power and torque, it is more fun. It's going to feel more fun to ride, simply because it has less weight to huff around. But this bike is no slouch either. This thing is insanely quick, and you do feel a lot of torque. But mainly it's actually the horsepower that you feel on this bike. On the ZH2, you feel torque almost like immediately, right down at lower end RPMs, whereas this bike, you feel more the horsepower in the higher end RPMs. Naturally, of course, that is where the bike is going to be producing more power, is higher up in the RPMs. So that's kind of what to expect, really, in general, for most motorcycles. But I will say that the ZH2 seems to produce a little bit more torque down low in the RPMs than compared to this bike. But once you get past the mid-range, honestly, it's absolutely fantastic and a load of fun. So I found out after shooting the video today that the H2SX and the ZH2 actually have two different supercharger designs. The SX has a linear supercharger, whereas the Z has a variable supercharger, which apparently is reminiscent of the original supercharger design from the Ninja H2 Supersport, which probably answers the question why the torque curve, the power delivery on the Z is significantly more aggressive than on the H2 SX. Now, that's not to say that the H2 SX doesn't have any power, it's just that you've got to wind it out a little bit more. You've got to be in those higher end RPMs to truly unlock the power potential of the supercharger. Now, having said that, it seems that Kawasaki have designed the supercharger on the H2SX for maximum fuel economy, at least in the lower end RPM. So if you are cruising, if you're touring on the bike, then in theory, you should get significantly better fuel economy than you would on something like a ZH2. But that is a trade-off to that immediate torque that you get from the supercharger. So from my perspective, at least from the riding experience, the ZH2 is a more fun motorcycle to ride, simply because you get that immediate power from the supercharger as and when you want it. Now, fuel economy. Again, this is one of those things where it's difficult to say, because you are going to use a lot of fuel on this bike if you're riding it spiritedly, as you should be. This bike deserves to be ridden spiritedly, and you're meant to have fun on this motorcycle, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the best fuel economy. And I think my ZZR 1400 probably has better fuel economy than this thing does. Now, my reference to that is my ZH2 again. The ZH2 is running about 37 miles per gallon, and that's averaged over, well, best part of 2 years. So this thing isn't going to get the best fuel economy. I mean, this is current MPG. It would be nice to see if I can. Oh no, that's not what I want. Let's pull over and let's have a little look and see what the average fuel economy is on this bike. Now, this is a demo, so naturally it is going to be ridden, you know, rather spiritedly. But let's see here. How do we? Oh no, that's to adjust the suspension between one passenger, two passengers, and luggage. No, that's not what I want. Aha, right, here we go. Average MPG 37.3. Not bad, actually. I would have expected it to be a little bit less, considering this is a demo bike, but pretty good. This bike wheelies. Surprisingly enough, this bike will wheelie. Not like the ZH2, but you can have some fun on this bike. This isn't, like I said, this isn't a slouch, and you can use it as a toy if you really wanted to. It's not, because it's a big tourer, it doesn't mean it's not going to be fun, if you know what I mean. This is still an ultra fun motorcycle. I don't want to take anything away from that. And the fact that you've got all these techie features and the quick shifter as well, they do really add to the experience. Naturally, of course, you've got the sport modes, the rain mode and the road mode, as well as power levels. You've got traction control levels as well, and of course I think there's a rider mode, but I haven't looked into that yet. But I imagine, yeah, if you turned off traction control on this bike, it's going to be insane, I think is perhaps a good way to describe this bike. But that is what supercharged motorcycles are meant to give you. They're meant to give you an insane experience. In sixth gear though, not a lot of torque. Not a lot of torque in sixth gear. ZH2 I think has got a little bit more, but again, it's because it's lighter. It's producing the same power numbers on paper. But let's get in here and let's see if we can do a quick 0 to 60 run or two. Now, 0 to 60, this has got to be, I mean, what? 3.5 seconds, maybe even a little bit less than that. On the spec sheet, I mean, this thing has got to be doing under 3 seconds. But as you all know, I've got to get my excuses in early. I'm not very good at 0 to 60 runs. So for me, I expect this to be about 3.5, maybe under 3.5 seconds. And we have got traction control and the wheelie control on as well. All right, so we should get a little bit of room here in a second. All right, here we go. It's a shame, pulled a wheelie. It's interesting, I wasn't actually expecting it to pull a wheelie like that, especially because the traction control is on. And I wasn't sure if I could get to 60 at the top end of first gear. We'll do another one, maybe if I upshift a little bit earlier, maybe, but it's, of course, as these supercharged motorcycles do, they will wheelie if you're hard on the throttle, and especially in first gear. Naturally, they all do. They're all exactly the same in that regard. We're all very similar. All right, here we go. Let's try again. Okay, so you can get to 60 in the top end, at the top end of first gear. Good. Again, not the best 0 to 60s in the world, but of course, when you've got that wheel bouncing up and down, that's not really the best for 0 to 60 runs, but it makes it a lot of fun. You know what? Even in second gear, 100% throttle, this thing isn't producing a ton of torque. I'm being totally honest with you. It's nowhere near as aggressive as the ZH2 is. First gear, yes. Second gear, no, not so much. And then, of course, naturally it's going to get worse as you go up through the gears. But this is, yeah, first gear is a lot of fun. I love those little lights that come up as well. Yeah, this bike can be a lot of fun in first gear, naturally, as all supercharged bikes are from Kawasaki. Yeah, a lot of fun in first gear, but once you get to second gear, it is quick. But, oh look, that was really cool. That was the radar kicking in there, telling me that the car in front was getting close. That is really good. So I imagine this bike has got auto braking as well, maybe? I'm not sure on that front actually, but it might have automatic braking system as well, like you get in cars. Not that I like that kind of feature, to be honest with you. Just getting that message popping up on the dashboard I think is really neat. But if it does have auto braking, I'm not such a fan of that. Because remember, you've got to have like 2 hands on the handlebars, and you've got to be fully in control of the bike if auto braking is going to kick in. And well, you might not be. It might catch you by surprise if you're not careful. Well, I'm sure you can turn it off if it does have that kind of feature, but I'm not sure on that front. I'll have to do a little bit of research on that. Okay, so in terms of the riding experience, I think this is very good, and up there is probably one of the best, especially when it comes to sport touring motorcycles. I don't think you can get much better than this, if I'm being brutally honest with you. I think this is probably the best, if not one of the best tourers out there, but it does come at a cost. So I believe that the base model of this, not the SE, the base model of this bike, I think it's about 25 grand on the road. 23, 24 grand on the road, and you're paying £2,000 or £3,000 above that for the SE model. However, Complete Motorbikes, this is in June right now. If you go and buy one of these bikes right now, they're doing a deal where you get a few grand off the asking price of the bike. Significant, that's very significant. But look at what you're getting. You're getting so much. Is it worth that extra amount over the likes of the ZH2? Is it worth that much more? Because ZH2, I mean, the base model ZH2 you can get for about £16,500, 17 on the road. The ZH2 SE, I think, is about £18,500 on the road. So significantly more than the Z H2. Is it worth it? Well, the riding experience is just purely from a riding experience point of view. The Z H2 does beat the H2SX in terms of just pure riding experience. But I don't go on a lot of touring rides, all right? Even though I think the Z H2 would be pretty good for touring, especially if we upgraded the seat, if we gave it a nicer seat. This thing is built and ready to go for touring. You wouldn't have to worry about a single thing on this motorcycle before you can start doing those mega journeys. This bike is a mile muncher. This is what it is designed from the ground up to do and be, and it does that. So if you are a touring bike rider and you want crazy levels of performance, well, this might be the motorcycle for you. Not to mention you get that supercharger flutter as well. I have to say it's not quite as pronounced though as the Z H2 either. So if you like the sound of the supercharger flutter, well, you get it every once and a while, I think. But I mean, shall we have one last listen to it? Here we go. So you can hear it there. But you do have to be in the higher RPMs before you can really start listening to the flutter. What a motorcycle. I really kind of didn't know what to expect, despite the fact that, of course, I'd ridden a Z H2 and I've got a Z H2 at home. I didn't quite know what to expect that kind of bike in a touring form. And this hasn't disappointed. These seats, honestly, man, they are lovely. But from a looks point of view, from a performance point of view, from an experience point of view, I seriously think this is, if not the best, one of the best sport tourers you can currently buy. This is absolutely awesome, absolutely love it, and I do heavily recommend this motorcycle if you are that kind of rider that is looking for that ultimate touring experience. This is it. But as always, everyone, don't forget to leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any of our motorcycle reviews going forward. And let me know what you think down in the comment section below about this motorcycle. Is it better than a Z H2? Is it better than a ZZR 1400? Let's hash it out in the comment section down below. But anyway, everyone, thanks again for watching. Take care, ride safe, and we'll catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.